Chapter 5. St. Paul the Evangelist. Who was St. Paul? St. Paul didn't have a television station that could reach multitudes with a Sunday morning broadcast, but his role in the growth of Christianity had an effect which supersedes the power of modern technology or televangelism. The man who would become a saint in the Christian church was born around 5 A.D. in the city of Tarsus, in Cilicia, which is now Turkey. Tarsus was a seaport on the Mediterranean coast, so from his earliest days he would have been familiar with the bustle of travelers and trade. This knowledge would come in handy for him later, for of all the disciples of Jesus, it would be Saul, known as Paul, who would clock the most frequent traveler miles. In the beginning, the city of Tarsus was prosperous and well educated. The benefits of Greek knowledge which had come to the region in the wake of Alexander the Great had deep roots. Saul benefited from the intellectual progress of his birthplace, but he also profited from something else. Although he was a Jew, he was also a Roman citizen. There would be times in Saul's future when the privilege of Roman citizenship would be an advantage, especially the right to a fair trial if arrested. Roman citizenship was greatly coveted in the empire. To be born a citizen, as Paul was a singular achievement in a time when people paid a great deal of money for citizenship. Soldiers who served in the Roman legions for 25 years were eligible to become citizens if they were honorably discharged from service after that time. Tarsus, which had first been conquered by Alexander the Great and later by Pompey, was designated a free city by Mark Antony because it had shown loyalty to him during the power struggles that erupted in Rome after the death of Julius Caesar. Its citizens were given citizenship because of the city's status. For Jews, this would have been particularly significant, since they could not otherwise have attained citizenship. Because Paul was a Roman citizen, he enjoyed the protection of the empire. He could not be whipped by the authorities. He had the right to a trial before Caesar. Paul's Roman citizenship saved his life during his ministry and forced the authorities to treat him with respect. Early influences. To grow up in Tarsus meant that Paul lived among a population that revered education. A philosopher from the city tutored Caesar Augustus when he was young, and served as his advisor when Augustus was the emperor. Paul grew up, received a sound education in the traditions of Judaism, studied under the Rabbi Gamaliel, and learned the trade of tent-making. Birth and ancestry indicated that he would do nothing to venture outside the family expectations, but meeting those expectations would provide a life well lived. Saul spoke fluent Greek, another advantage in the cosmopolitan world of his time. The man who would describe himself as the apostle to the Gentiles grew up as a faithful Jew, a member of the Pharisees, who strictly obeyed the laws of Moses. So from birth on, Saul was comfortable within the duality of the city in which he was born, the sophistication of a trade center where Greek philosophy and learning dominated, and the solid steeping in the faith of his ancestors. Paul's life changes. However, his destiny was going to take him outside the familiar confines of his heritage. The evangelist to end all evangelists didn't start out as a believer in the controversial Galilean, whose followers had aroused the wrath of Rome. Their adherence to a faith which failed to acknowledge the deity of the emperor provided bloody entertainment in the Colosseum, where citizens watched as Christians met their violent ends without recanting, bloodied but unbowed.